Hey everyone. I hope you're all still with me. Happy Monday, August 18th, 2025. So, take three. I'm sorry. Um, so I thought I had this set up. And this is admittedly, I repair pens. I have some technical skills, of course, but the audio visual thing is just really not, maybe not my forte. So, Uh, with the help of my daughter, we'll get this figured out probably tomorrow. But y'all on Twitch, you're here anyway, so that's the important thing. Um, the suspense was killing you. I'm sorry. I think we got it figured out. Um, it happens, yeah, right. Um, I think we got it figured out. I think I have to. Apparently, I have to set up scenes in. If any of you know, so I'm using OBS now, and I've got the vertical plugin installed, but it we were getting audio but not visual. So when we set up the scenes, we started setting up the scenes, then we were actually able to see things happen. So I don't know if so apparently I'm going to need to set up all my regular scenes in one side on the other, and then that will work. But apparently I'm going to be, I don't know. I really don't know. But I didn't want to prolong this. If we did that, then um, we're not going to get any pens repaired. We're not going to get anything done. And tomorrow's another day. And I'll just upload this anyway. So, um, hey, here we are. Thanks all for all those that chimed in on the podcast on Friday. Lisa and I and Lindsay, we all had a really really good time. Um, I didn't realize it went so long. We're like, oh, holy cow! So, um, but no, we had a good time. It was good to be back in the saddle. And it was just nice. It was nice. So it was a really good launch weekend. Um, it was not without incident for sure. Hope it got swamped over the weekend. Yeah, Friday was nuts. Friday was nuts. Um, and I've got this integration installed where whenever an order comes through the system, it automatically prints out on my printer, which is pretty cool. And is it necessary? Maybe not. Uh, but I just like it. It's just a cool thing. It's just shy of some bells and whistles going off to tell you there's an order coming in, but it grabs your attention. Lisa was doing the shipping. I was doing all the pulling of orders. I don't even remember how late we stayed up um, pulling orders. I mean, it was 5, 6, 7 hours, I'm sure, and so that was great. And then Saturday came because it was too late for us to get to the post office uh, by the time we had anything assembled. And I had gone to the post office early on Friday, and I hit the jackpot because my order from USPS has not arrived yet. So, um, and my old manager Dave, who y'all saw on the intro, he was gracious enough to do that for us. He says you got to order it like in small batches, and then they'll ship it quicker. Well, I tried that too, and it's still taking forever. Um, and I know somebody had said here on Twitch, you don't trust an Anderson video if Dave doesn't announce the podcast. Well, when you said that, and I forget who that was, I don't remember if that was Plain Water or who that was, Indy or somebody. Uh, I actually had probably, if you go back to that video, whenever that was, I probably had a little smirk on my face because uh, I had already arranged with Dave to do that very thing. So I knew it was going to be good, and and it worked out. So uh, Saturday comes, and so Saturday I'm gonna do shipping. And now y'all that chimed in um, for the testing, we did that. We handled the shipping. It worked out pretty well, but it was only a few orders. And Saturday comes and it's like 60, 70 orders, and all chaos ensued on Saturday. It was not a good day from like waking up to about, I don't know, 9 o'clock p.m. Um, if it could go wrong, it went wrong. We did get uh, 2 buckets of mail out, which was great, but it took me like 7 hours to ship like 40 packages, which is unacceptable, and it's completely absurd. Uh, but my new scale, which is this is scale number 3 now, stopped talking to the computer, which is hard to believe because I've had like 3 other iterations of the scale and they always work. It stopped. LKP in the house. Um, it stopped working. I could not get it. It was a very exciting weekend. Yeah, it was. I couldn't get it to work. I'm like, okay, that's fine, no big deal. I can still read the weight until I discovered that the weight was not reading correctly. No matter if I picked up the package and put it back down on the scale, it would read something completely different. Finally figured out the table it was on was not stable enough, and so it was reading the wrong weight all the time. Now most everything goes flat rate, so it's not a huge deal. So I got that ironed out, and then the label printer started going wonky. And by wonky, like it would print a label out and then would print 2.5 blank labels, stop for about 5 seconds, and then print 2.5 more blank labels. And so every time I'd print the label, rip it off, put it on the package, and I'd have to re-roll the labels because otherwise I was, wasting 5 labels per per order, which was insane. I could not get it fixed, and every once in a while it would print one out and it would stop. Um, and so finally, after hours and hours and hours and hours, and it was just maddening. And in trying every configuration possible, getting on with tech support, nobody had a solution. Lisa says, "You know what? I'm just going to go and get a new printer." And so, okay, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have to do it, but something. I mean, you can't keep doing that, right? I mean, it's insane. And she goes, "Wait, I've got a label printer in the closet." So, um, she pulls out this label printer, and I'm like, "No way." She goes, "Yeah," and we plug it in, and sure enough, it works. Although oddly enough, my integration to print orders out as they come in was working fine. It would print, one page and it would stop. It was just when you print the labels, it wouldn't work. So now I've got a new printer. It prints my shipping labels correctly, but when the automation turns on to print the label out, it doesn't print out correctly at all. It's like it's printing out at 8.5 by 11. For the life of me, I can't figure out what setting is not quite right to make that work. However, if I manually do it, it prints out properly. I don't know. So, anyway, uh, it was, Friday was a fun day. Saturday, we finally got, and you're going to have those bumps in the road. And so, we got that figured out. And, today and we worked yesterday. Yeah, that's a possibility. Keep both printers going for one test. Well, so what happened was, so Lisa was looking while I was fuming. It was really an ugly scene. My daughter apparently volunteered to come over and help, and Lisa said, "Don't come over. It's, it's not a good idea. Not today." Um, so we see that it's probably that the sensor can't detect the edge of the receipt, so you need to clean it. So I watched the I've got a Dymo. I watched the Dymo cleaning video. I try to replicate what's in the video, and of course that makes everything absolutely worse. Um, so, but I mean, it's no big deal because I can go in and I can print it, and I've got stuff in with support to see if they can do it, and if they can't, they can't. Um, we should be able to figure it out though. But anyway, so that was my weekend. Um, we had pen club yesterday, which was kind of fun. We did the desk set Emporium salad spinner discussion, and I honestly think people were incredibly intrigued. We cleaned a couple of pens. Like nobody. It was weird though because nobody had pens with them that they needed. I mean, like only one person's like, "Oh, well, I'm almost out of ink on my vanishing point. Let's do that." That was it. And I brought a 51, and another gentleman had three vintage pens, none of which would even take in the remotest amount of water. But I think people got the idea, and I bet there's going to be a run on salad spinners here in Appleton today. So anyway, so that was that. Um, got some orders in today, so that was exciting to be able to do that. We had in addition on Saturday, while I'm in fact in the middle of everything, I was using a different shipping program than I used to use. We used to use ShipStation, and I was trying this application called Shipping Easy, which I had used throughout the earlier part of the year, shipping onesie twosie packages. It was because it was free, and it is by no means easy. And in about halfway through, Lisa basically stopped me. She's, "We're going to use ShipStation. You're familiar with it. It works." Um, and it does. It's a little bit more expensive, but it works. And so we did that. And then I'm trying to buy postage, and PayPal, in their infinite wisdom, decided to um, freeze my account. Um, and so they send me this email. They say, "Well, here's all the things you can't do. You can't receive money. You can't download money. You can't spend money. you know, you can't get invoices. You can't. I mean, like none of that stuff you can do. But if you want, you can put it on your website and frustrate all your customers." So I ended up taking that option off the website, and then they wanted a picture of me, a picture of my driver's license, and they needed me to present like tracking numbers for like 12 packages, some of which I couldn't ship because I had to buy postage, and I couldn't buy postage because I was using PayPal. So I had to switch payment methods. Thankfully, they got it cleared up within maybe an hour and a half. Um, but I was not a happy camper. All this stuff going on, and it's ironed out now. We're all. Should we take a look at some pens today? Let's see what we got. I don't even remember what we did last week. Um, did the website function correctly? Yes, it did. It did function correctly. And there's always it's frustrating because there's always what we call incomplete orders in the system, and it's typically because a credit card bank doesn't allow the transaction to happen, but there is almost no way to know. And so the customer doesn't get to check out. Um, Usually they don't email me, but I have to look for these transactions because they don't automatically show up. And if a customer does email me, all I can say is I don't know, which is a bogus answer. Um, but it's all I got because the processors are vague to me. Um, and especially if it's, I mean, if it goes to an actual credit card processor, I have a little bit more data to work with. Like if it goes through PayPal, forget it. There is absolutely nothing. We had one customer who was trying like the dickens to get an order go through, and it just wasn't working for her. And finally, she got it to go through. But I was like, I'm gonna have to. You're gonna have to call. I'm gonna have to call her and get it to work. Yeah, it was pain and suffering. Saturday was brutal. It was really not a good day, um, because that stuff takes the fun out of everything else, right? And we want this to be fun, and it's okay though because you have to expect some of these challenges starting over, and hopefully we're through the worst of it. I think we're through the worst of it. So, knock on wood. But we'll continue to refine our processes um, and we'll move forward. I am excited. I did get, like I said, I got some orders in. We'll repair some pens just in a second, but just to let you know what's coming. I got some orders in this morning. The long-awaited Waterman ink. Um, if you watch the podcast, and I've mentioned it before, should be on its way. There are also going to be some of the special edition city jotters, which I think are super cool, including the Rome and the Sydney and the Tokyo and the New York. Um, those are on their way. I have a restock on a lot of paper, including a bunch of Apica that I didn't get the first round. Some more Midori, some more Mariumon. Somebody had asked about Grafilo, and I tried to order it, but it was not available. So I don't know what that means. So I will check into that. And Schaefer Coffee Edition pens were I won't say hot, but we sold quite a number of them. So we've got those coming, and I'm also ordering the expressions, the 100 expressions. Isn't Grafila discontinued now? I'm not 100% sure. It's possible. I mean, I think I may have heard that rumor, but they're still listed as available on my distributor site. So I don't know. If it is, then that ends that, right? I gotta check into them on that. That's a good thing to look at. So anyway, that's that. As always, if any of y'all are interested in getting anything, and you don't see it up, shoot me an email, and I will look into it for you. So I guess this is where we stopped last time. I don't even remember if we took J bars out of here or not. What did we do? Oh, I see. Now I put one in here. So this part must be done. Let's take a look. I think I probably need to clean those off. Did we clean these caps? I don't even know. I got fresh ultrasonics water here, so I guess I can just dump those. I don't think we did. Because we had the black. Well, it wouldn't hurt to dump them in again. Maybe we did. Those in there. We'll throw these. This one looks pretty spotless. That one's got the old sticker residue on it. Yeah, so then playing around with the YouTube live this morning. We'll get that ironed out. I knew the setup was too good to be true. Supposedly there was a new Graphilo version coming that might be even better than the original. How is that possible? I will never forget one of our former employees, Mr. Paper, as it were, his explanation of Graphilo was it was witchcraft. He liked it. He liked it so well. He called it witchcraft. It was just really so good. You better stay away from the paper. Yeah. Yeah, that's too bad. I don't even have it. I don't think I might have a remnants of a tester pad or something lying around somewhere, but that would be it. It really took the ink well, though. It was really a nice paper. Fuzzy, how are you? Happy Monday. So as expected, sales tapered off, Saturday and Sunday. Typically Monday's usually a pretty busy day with shipping, but since Kobe got lots of orders, we had quite a bit. Since we were working, normally we would work until 2:00. We would get mail pickup around 12:31 on Saturdays at the store, right? And then after that, no orders went out. Nothing got packaged. I mean, maybe something got packaged, but nothing happened until Monday morning. But we worked like all day Saturday. I was struggling with shipping and doing that stuff. And Lisa was packing and I was pulling. And then we did it again on Sunday. So by the time this morning came around, I had a bucket. And then I did some shipping yesterday and printed your end of day. And today I had, maybe 20 orders to finish up. And that was that. So it might be, and my goal is to try to keep Mondays on the Twitch schedule because as I mentioned to Lisa, I said, well, if I repair pens on Monday, those are pens that can go on the website, right? So and I have to replace the stuff that we sold, so to speak. Hope you didn't have to cancel. Yeah. You look forward to comparing when you can get your hands on some. Yeah. Are they going to stick with the same A5 size that they had before in just the 3 blank lined, and what was the other one? Was it graph or was it dot? I can't remember because they only had 3 SKUs. So yeah, so I think seeing me on a Monday doesn't necessarily mean we didn't have a lot of orders. It just meant that since everything is here, we were still able to ship, but we are still shipping on Sunday just to make everything work. Because if we had stopped at 12:30 on Saturday, it would have been a boatload of work this morning. I would have had to cancel. So, and quite honestly, after all the whole weekend, I'd rather be repairing pens today. It was so insane. right. Oh, this didn't come out at all, did it? Mm. I hate it when I don't write notes. Drop those in there. So I don't know if did I mention this already? I don't know. I'm like got 1,000 things in my head. I'm starting to upload all the old Twitch, not all, some of the old Twitch streams to YouTube. So if you missed something or you want to check them out, you don't have to worry about Twitch's 7-day VOD limitation. And I went back to July 28th, which was a Monday a couple weeks ago, where we started all of the PFMs, which we're going to hopefully finish up tomorrow. We're going to work on them a little bit today. So those are starting to go up. I got 2 up today, and actually I've got another 9 more that are going to make their way up once I can spend a little more time on them. All right, let's see what we got here. And Lindsay made some really nice little thumbnails for them. It was really all professionalized and stuff. Get my mommy out of the way. So a few bumps in the road, but at least the podcast on Friday went off pretty much without a hitch. My big fear with live streaming is, the first time is you don't know if it's like today, you don't know if it's going to work. So, all right. Apparently we cleaned these before. You have some A4 loose leaf Graphilo. The Fude fan did a comparison video. I'm not sure if the new version is being distributed yet. It's fun to play around with options and make cute thumbnails for it. Yeah. They're really great. Early stuff always does have a few bumps. Well, it is what it is. I'm not terribly worried about it. A4 Graphilo. My distributor is sometimes it's challenging to communicate with. So, but I've never been the one. As far as ordering concerned, I was never the one to do the ordering through that company, because we shared the ordering tasks. You're absolutely ignorant when it comes to paper. Is that a Japanese paper? Yeah, it's a Japanese paper. Yeah. You end up getting a lot of A4 papers that I'll print for various projects. Okay. Most of the paper used was made decades ago. Wow. So we used to split up the ordering for various reasons, some of which made sense, some which didn't make any sense. And then I started dealing with this particular distributor kind of in 2024. And So I don't really have. They have a portal, so you really don't have like a relationship with a vendor. You know, you submit your order and boom, that's it. And while they speak English, it's not always, you know, it's not perfect English, so sometimes it can be hard to get ideas across. And the website's not exactly terribly, I mean, it's usable, but it's usable if you know what SKU you're looking for. Let's just put it that way. All right, so these are all good to go. These are dollar pens. All right, what did we use on these before? Boy, that's about a 14. 14's in an M2, but I can't remember. What did I do the last time we did one of these? I wonder if that's not a 15. Did one type of vintage pen seem to be the most popular at launch? You know, we sold a fair amount of Parker 51s. Pretty much every pen that we showed off of the 7 that we showed off on the podcast, except for the Parker 75, sold. The I'm trying to think what the first pen sold. The pre-dual fold Lucky Curve was gone right away. Let's see. Now we also had a lot of some modern stuff. And so there were a lot of Coecos. The first pen to sell, though, the first thing to sell when we turned the website on was that Pilot switch filler. Gone. And let's see, was there? And then the second one was the pre-dual fold Lucky Curve. Those are the two pens to move first, which was not unexpected. You were waiting to share the story until launch was done. I tested the site and ordered from Cardinal Junior Major Baseball Stadium in Montreal. Cardinal Junior Major Baseball Stadium. Is that a thing? What do they have on there? Cardinal Junior Junior major? The home stadium. Oh, okay, okay. Good afternoon to you, Lee. How are you? I think we're gonna do 15s on these. Fifteen looks good. Yeah, the ebonized pearl, balanced sold. So like the two pens that I liked was. Don't forget the Red Sox. It says. Nice. Oh, don't forget the Red Sox. Mm. Oh. It's good to be back preparing pens, though. That's for sure. Oh, this is the one that had a little bit of a squished look to it. You just thought it's funny how that happened. Got your dual dose of Cardinal in. Oh, well, this nib is knackered anyway. Yeah, it's missing tipping. See if I can use my nib pliers to. It's turning, but I don't know if the collar's coming with it. Oh, it is. There we go. And we had a club member show up yesterday who had just received their grandfather's pens, and had the most interesting set I've seen in a while. It was a Ready Point mechanical pencil in aluminum with a really cool chasing pattern. Now, I've said it once, I said it 1,000 times. I'm not a pencil guy. But this was in the box with the instructions. And it was this really unusual chasing pattern. It was like these weird diamonds. And I mean, it was really, 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 really funky. And it had, of all things, a matching. Of course, we believe you. Yeah, I know. I know. Which reminds me, I got a pencil deal I got to follow up on. It had a matching dip pen holder in aluminum with the same pattern on it. It was very unusual. And it was marked B and G, which was the same name that was on the instructions for the pencil, which was, I forget what it stood for. Was it the owner of the company? I can't remember. Parent company, the distributor. It said B and G, St. Paul, Minnesota, was how the dip pen holder was marked. But it was a very weird, hi Spicy. It was a very weird conical. Like, I don't know if most dip pens nibs would have fit in there, but there was no dip pen nib in it. Yeah, I mean, the pencil was, you know, it was okay, right? I mean, it was fine. I mean, but if I'd have seen that, I would have bought it, you know. Yeah, right. It was infinitely more interesting because of the dip pen holder in the same chasing pattern. Really, really super cool. She also had a Tuscan hard rubber Moore L94. It's got all these gold bands at the top of the cap. I mean, it was outrageous. It was just really, and weirdly enough, it had damage to the nib. It was broken, like right at the base. And so, of course, whenever you put any pressure on it whatsoever, there wasn't as much holding the nib in place, so it moved. And so it would have probably had to been set deeper into the section, but I don't know if we'll see. It might end up on the bench here. We might get to talk about it. It was a pretty cool pen though. Tuscan hard rubber. It was just, you don't see that every day. Okay, so now this is, nah, we don't want that. Are these full size? Yeah, those are full size. And the most common thing there was a Duofold Junior in black and pearl. Which was in really nice condition. Let's see, we'll try 16 on this Model A here. All right, that's better. That's not right. So always cool to see Grandma and Grandpa's pens. You just never know what's going to turn up. See, that to me says that there's something wrong with this, because this should go, I mean, that would be okay. Now, this is the B, but it goes all the way to the back. There's no reason. There's no spacer in these. Well, that's got a cool patterning on it, doesn't it? Yeah, these go all the way down to the bottom of the barrel. Just make sure there's nothing. Yeah, okay, so that does go down. So what that tells me is this is either not going all the way down because there is a subtle taper here in the barrel, or this is bending up kind of like that, and the sack is hitting the end of the bar. And since there is no slot on these early pens, there's no slot on the bar. You can push it back as far as you can. It's not going to affect, because it's not going to stop when it hits that vertical. So there it seems okay. But I wonder if it, when it compresses a little bit, it pulls up. Yeah, it sure does. I don't know if you can see this. You see the end there? You see how it curls up? So the sack's actually hitting underneath on the bottom side of the bar. So it's not going in all the way. So we'll just kind of, usually you can just kind of straighten it out. You didn't get to see any interesting pens from your grandparents, but I got a small monogrammed inkwell that was probably my great-grandfather's. Nice. Yeah, you know, I got to admit sometimes I mean, jealousy is not the right word. Envy, maybe. And that's the wrong word too, right? Because we'd all probably rather have our grandparents than to have stuff. But you know, when someone's, oh yeah, look, I get, you know, all these pens from Grandpa. And the one pen I knew my grandpa had was one I gave him, and was nowhere to be found in the house. Now, it's entirely possible that it just disappeared. It's entirely possible it was in a box somewhere that got dumped. I mean, you know. But I gave my grandfather an Esterbrook. I think it was maybe an LJ, and I believe it was red. Yeah, see, it's still cranking up. For Christmas one year with the bottle of ink and a little journal. And I think in the estate, we found the bottle. My mom found the bottle. It was our Girbon bottle. But that was it. No pen, no notebook, nothing. Contact me about Esterbrook Safari Impossible converters. Which one would fit? Love the CA 101. Yeah, so the Safari is a tough one, and I have to go, you know, and every once in a while I go back and go, okay, well, I need to, you know, with wisdom and gained knowledge, I go through and I try to see if there's something new that I hadn't figured out. And usually the answer is no different. But at last remembrance, there's nothing that fits the Safari. Now, I think I was able to once get, believe it or not, a Lamy cartridge to fit. Cartridge. I don't know about converter. It was loose. That info I got from Sam Fiorella. There we go. There we go. Yeah, so on that one, if you saw the J bar, it was almost vertical. It wasn't coming up. I had to push it almost vertical, and then the barrel took that J part to where it needed to be. But Esterbrook had several different kinds of refills over their cartridge life span, and you know what fits the CA 101 doesn't fit the Safari, if memory serves. And actually you got the cart to fit too, maybe because it's too long and fits the taper of Safari, but yeah, not a tight fit. Yeah. Like the CX100, I think also fits. It fits the platinum converter, but then you can't screw the barrel on. So that's kind of a problem. There's that, right? And I think somewhere in my parts bin, I've got a CX100 that's got a platinum converter in it because I couldn't get the barrel off after I screwed it on. So, you know, we need a custom converter, or we need, I don't know. Yeah, it gets stuck, yeah. Can you shorten the platinum converter like you can for the long shorts? I don't know. I've never spent that much time on it for probably a couple reasons. One, I deemed it probably not worth my time, and two, there was always something else to fix, so I'm not spending time trying to fix that. Yeah, the Safari is a great pen. It's designed by Henry Dreyfuss. It's a nice, you know, same guy who designed the Skyline. It's a cool design. It came out for Esterbrook's 100th anniversary in 1958. Ended up kind of being a disaster. He designed the Royal Arrow typewriter too. Yeah, he did all sorts of things, right? Was he the designer of the Bell telephone too? I think. And the thermostat that everybody has on their wall, or had on their wall before smart thermostats became a thing. Yeah. So the problem. So I'll start backwards. Esterbrook never made a pen called a Deluxe Safari. They never made a Deluxe Safari. And by Deluxe Safari, I mean a Safari with a metal cap. The metal cap is a solution to a problem in that the plastic on the caps, well, and the barrels too, really, is so thin that it cracks easily. And glad I'm back. So much wonderful historical info. Yeah, thank you. So if you look, I mean, you can practically see, do I have a Safari here? Yeah, hence the metal cap. Yeah, metal cap solved the problem. Hang on. Do I have one? I don't think I have one. I mean, I have one, just not here. No. Um, I mean, you could break them just by, screwing them together. You've got metal threads, you've got a plastic cap. It's a disaster waiting to happen. I'm going to use this old one to size it up. You have a plastic one that was in original packaging, never opened. Very cool. Very cool. The rumor is, or the thought process, I think, is they changed over to the metal cap quite quickly. I don't think that pen was in production very long to begin with, so. Because then you see the plunger fill comes out, I think, in 59. And the plunger fill, I mean, how great, and you could make one, but how great would it be to have a plunger fill with a plastic cap? That would be really great. But they all came with metal caps. And the design is nice, it's pleasing. There actually was, believe it or not, there was a prototype for a Safari with a barrel that matches the metal cap. Section has a little lip to hold your hand away from the nib on the Safari. I'm sure you're right. I haven't used one in ages because you got to refill the cartridges, right? But yeah, they made a prototype in an all metal. Wicked cool. I wish they would have done that. That would have solved every problem. It was probably too expensive. I mean, yeah, just really super cool pen. Super cool pen. All right, what are we doing here? Let's get these done so we get these PFMs done. Get these PFMs out of here. These are ready to go. Those are soaking. We'll do these. Let's... For a while, the Safari was one of my favorite. Sorry to divert you. No, anytime. You will talk about Esterbrook. Doesn't matter what I'm working on. I mean, if I'm working on Esterbrook, all the better, but. We're going to put this back in. I think that, get that. Yeah, Safari was kind of a, one of my very favorite models of pens that Esterbrook ever made. I just love the design. I love the history behind it. It's supposed to be this grand anniversary pen, and it turns into something of a failure, almost reminiscent to how they started in 1931, making their own V-clip pens, and then all of a sudden the clips are breaking off. Kind of reminds me of Saturday. Everything went wrong, you know. But they fixed it. They turned around, and well, I think by the time the Safari kind of failed, they were near death's door. I mean, they didn't come up with much after the Safari. You know, CX100 was just an ugly bit of kit, as they would say. Which, you know, like I said the other day on the podcast, like, I'm so glad that when we bought those Esterbrookes, the one prototype pen that we found, or not prototype, but the one unusual color we found was not in a CX100, because that's like, you know, like, okay, fine. Was the CA101 after the Safari? Yes, I believe so. Yeah, Burgundy CA101. Yeah, it's, you know, and I studied it, but I mean, I froze, and Lisa knows I'm a nerd. I'm a complete nerd when it comes to these things. And we walked into the room, and there it was. It was at the end of the table. It was kind of sitting like this, and this was the edge of the table here, you know. And it was the last pen on the table. It was closest to me. I looked down at it. I looked up, and they're talking, and Lisa's talking, and I looked down and I get at it again. And I have a thing that I've trained myself to do over the years, and this is a good tip for any of you if you're trying to, you know, negotiate things. And this was not a, I mean, there was no negotiating here, so it didn't matter. But this has become pretty ingrained in how I interact before I buy something. I'm like calm and cool as a cucumber, but inside I'm going, and I look down and I pick it up and I open it up and I'm looking inside the cap and I'm looking at this, you know, is it discolored? I'm looking at the section, you know, because there's people always talk about I mean, not always, but you get people who talk about a purple LK. Well, they didn't make a purple LK, but when burgundy gets in the sunlight, it actually fades to a purple. And I mean, it's a really convincing purple. But yeah, it was sitting there, and I looked down at it, and I picked it up, and Lisa's talking, and I knew, I mean, like, at that minute, I'm like, I need to hand over this money now so this deal is done. I mean, I knew it wasn't gonna, you know, I mean, I drove 7 hours there. They're not gonna, but I was just like, yeah, it was pretty much the end of the road for fountain pens in the U.S. at that time, I would say. Yeah, I mean, we're getting into the 60s, you know, except for like Parker, you know, is coming out with 75s and things like that. You were in a pen shop in Oregon during COVID and found a real platinum kumpu. Oh, really? You actually whispered to your wife, "Look what I found." Oh my God. Yeah, but I mean, I'll be just like, and that's what I do. And usually what I do, like, if somebody comes up to me and they want to, and I'm going to give you all my tells, but they want to sell me a bunch of pens and say, there's these pens here. There's these, what do I got here? 6 pens. Whatever the most outstanding pen is, never pick it up first. Pick up the crappiest pen first, as if it's the most interesting, and look at it. Pick up another pen. Go back to the really interesting pen. And you just be calm, and you have to be, really, because especially when you're talking dollar signs on some things, you know, Burgundy vacuumatics and things like that, you know, you can't jump the gun. Now, a Burgundy CA101, you know, I mean, it's, you know, what is that really worth? I mean, would somebody pay $100 for it? Probably. Is $100 going to change my life? Not at all. You're gonna have to watch me more closely next time we're trading pens. With you, it's different though. I can't fake you out. You know, and I'm not trying to be deceptive, but you know, people pick up on tells. If you go, oh wow, this is amazing, guess what? The price just went up. Because the other part of the equation is even if you're buying a lot of pens from somebody, especially if they're unrestored, anything can happen. You can have an oversized burgundy vacuumatic, right? Great pen, really, really great pen. Would love to see one. I mean, we sold the Emerald um, quite quickly on Friday. It's the only one I've ever had. Now I don't collect vacuumatics, so I don't. You know, I'm sure there are some at shows. Um, you know, but a Burgundy would be a sight to behold. It would really be something. Uh, how many pens do we have here that never opened? I mean, I've got 3 of them on my desk right now. I've got a. Do I still have it here? I got it somewhere. I've got a wall green and bronze deco band. I mean, what an awesome pen. Will it open? No. Um, Anything can happen. You had a $450 nib blow up on you. Yeah, no way of knowing uh, it would happen. Yeah, I mean, I remember once. This blew my mind. It's the only time it's ever happened, and I think about it a lot. I had a maybe Todd Swan, and the nib was kind of cockeyed on the feed, and I just pushed it with my fingernail like you do. You know, probably I think it was down here by the shoulders, and as if I had some superpower, my fingernail like sliced through the gold, and I ripped the nib in half. It was I was stunned. I was, well, now what? You know, so you just never know. Which is why you should never pay. I mean, wholesale should be a reasonable wholesale with some expectation of there is a complete chance that you've got a pretty dip pen. Yeah, you don't want to ruin a swan nib ever because they're usually pretty amazing. But I mean, it was so thin. It was such a thin nib that just pressing on it, and I probably should have just knocked it out first, but I thought maybe I could just line it, and it just, I don't even remember what the rest of the pen looked like. It was my pen, so it wasn't a big deal, but tipping on one side of your nib popped as soon as it was touched by a tool. Bad weld from 1920. Yeah, it's a 450 piece of scrap gold. Mm. Yeah, we don't have people that I think that either we can A, trust, or are good enough to do retips. And the people that we can trust and are good enough uh, don't want to invest in the equipment, and rightly so, uh, because it's it's just not worth it. Sadly, because you know Retipping then means you got to slit it. You got, so you need another machine for that. Then you grind it. All right. Well, that cleaned out nice. Someone wants to give you cash for the tooling. I'd love to try. If season 2 here turns out all right, I would love to. I mean, you need a dedicated person to. It can't be a fly by night operation. And you're going to have more business than you know what to do with. Immediately. Because let me tell you, I'm sending you nibs. What we need to do is figure out a way to make it reasonably priced too, because then you can save. And maybe you wouldn't want to. I don't know. Would you want to save a common vacuumatic nib? But maybe put a broad stub on it. If someone did a poor job, they would be busy 24/7. Yeah. Yeah, I forget. What are we talking? 10 grand for the machine? Maybe what you need to do is you need to find somebody who can just do the tipping and then just sends it off. $10,000 to $20,000. I mean, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. The grand scheme of things, yeah. I mean, if you get somebody who could tip it, I guess probably you'd have to slit it because you got to do that process. And then maybe you just send it off to somebody to grind. You know someone who chased it and spent a lot more than that. He abandoned the project. Oh, okay. Was he going to grind them too? I mean, he's going to do the whole process, right? Tip, slit, grind. I mean, that's not an insignificant amount of money. The whole process, he had virtually unlimited resources. It was a scary cautionary tale. Interesting. You'll have to tell me that one the next time we get together. That sounds. Maybe we've talked about this. Yeah, just because you got money doesn't mean you can do things. All right, so we'll let these dry. We'll deal with these tomorrow. Let's look at some PFMs. I know we're gonna have to set, and I did this list right on Thursday. I was gonna talk about it on the podcast on Friday. I completely forgot it. David, you had a CA 101 on your site. I couldn't pass it. Just purchased. Just purchased. Thank you. Okay. There will be more. There will be more. That one was actually a pen that came in through my one of my consignment collections. But I've got like a whole bunch more too. So all are going to come with platinum converters. So and if anybody is interested, I have a very interesting pen on its way. I don't think I have. I might have tracking on it. I can't remember. I think it's going to be here this week. It was shipped out on Saturday. If you're a Parker 51 collector, this is maybe a pen that you might want to look at. If you don't already have it, of course. But I had somebody, I actually had a large number of folks email after we sent the email out on Tuesday, and then we resent it out on Thursday. And a number of offers on consignment. And so I've got a number of things in the works, and like one person like sent this out immediately. It's a Parker 51 double jewel in mustard set in the box. Now, the gentleman that's sending it has restored it. Said he carried it around in his pocket for a week. Works great. Cleaned it out. Good to go. We had a buckskin last year. We had a buckskin, but which I thought was mustard, but then I had never seen a buckskin before, so you know the color is it's sort of close. Buckskin's sort of like a dull mustard. But yeah, this apparently is a mustard. It is on its way. So that will be hitting the site. Well, it'll probably be a couple weeks, but any of y'all interested in a mustard set, shoot me an email. All right, so this guy here is a kind of a disaster, but I think it will be. A little bit of, I'm going to just wire brush that. Yeah, kind of the beauty of not having, I really originally wanted to launch with like 1,000 pens. We just ran out of time. We just ran out of time, and you know, and part of it was me, and part of it was like Lisa's like, we got to pick a date. I mean, you know, because you keep repairing pens all day long, we are never ever going to get caught up to a point where, you know, there's only, you know, whatever you're working on is not on the website. And so Lisa and I picked a date, you know, August 15th, and then like that was that. But I mean, there's another 200 pens that aren't on the website yet. I haven't been photographed yet. Maybe 300. that's kind of a disaster, but I think if we can get it to work, um, it'll be fine. Yellowstone can be so many colors, a huge batch variation. If the pen and pencil match well, it's a great bonus. Yeah. Nassau Green is on your wish list. It will never happen at a price you'll pay. There will always be more death sets to put to the site. Yeah, they haven't been shot yet. I've got like 25 or 30 of them by now. We're getting there. I know Lindsay is almost done or really close to being done with all of the consignment pens that I have. They've all been shot, and I know she's almost done with all of those. So that'll be a step in the right direction. And then once we get that done, then we can kind of gingerly move into more stuff. Funny story about Nassau Green. And if Lisa were here, she would tell this story, because it's a to quote Hans, it's a cautionary tale, although not as expensive as investing $20,000-$30,000 in nib tuning, laser welders, and all that stuff. After Lisa and I got married and she moved up, we used to go to. There was, like, in March every year at one of the local universities, there was an estate, or not estate, an antique show. It was always pretty good. It was fun to go. It was something to do in the middle of the winter. And we enjoyed going. So this, but we went one time, and we go and we see a Parker 51 set in the box. And Lisa looks at it, and at this time, Lisa was Lisa was making notepads like she used to. This was, we've gone in and out of doing it so many times, it's hard to count. But we had one with the Nassau Green 51 on it. So we get to the show. There's a 51 set there. We're looking at it. Like, I don't know what color it is. And I didn't know much about 51s at the time, because I knew black. And we go, she goes, I think that's Nassau Green. Like, okay, I don't know. And this, I think, was probably before the Millionaire Show. So we said, well, I don't know. I really don't know. Let's call Joel. So we're at the university at the antique show. We call Joel Hamilton. We get him on the phone. Like, Joel, how do I know if this pen is Nassau or it's something else? I don't believe Joel was all that much help, which is unusual because he's the Parker guy. But he says, well, talk to us. What he didn't mention was, or remind us of, is Nassau is primarily a double jewel pen. I think there's some rare variants where there is actually a single jewel Nassau. And this was a single jewel pen. So now we didn't pay Nassau price, but we paid basically retail price for oh shoot, what's the name of the color? Oh, hang on. Navy gray, I think, is what it was. Yeah, navy gray. Which, if you're like, well, that's stupid, but I mean, maybe you can kind of see how that might be construed. Does that mean you need to send more death sets? Death sets? Maybe they're running low. Yeah, yeah. We're only running low because I'm running low on space. And once I sell what I have, I can then I'll be able to assemble more. So yeah, we paid essentially full retail for a navy gray, thinking it was Nassau. Even after a phone a friend. I mean, you just never know. You just never know. All right. Well, let's see what we're gonna do here. You're hearing that I have untapped capacity for death sets? Oh, this is an old school snorkel. Cool. I don't remember where I got that from. That was also, I believe, uh, I don't remember if it was the exact year, but that was also the antique show where Lisa will say I ran over an old lady to go after an Esterbrook desk set and early Diplis drumwell. But I saw it from 20 feet away, and I'm like, and I think they wanted like $20 for it or something. So she was trying to get it there first. You needed to get there at any cost. Yeah, I think she might have had like a walker or a cane or something. It was. I've never lived it down. Like I didn't knock her over, but the old lady did need it. She's probably thinking, "Oh, well, I've got 3 of these at home." You're gonna trip me with the cane if I wasn't fast enough. Yeah, you just wanted to add her spoons that no one's allowed to touch. We actually haven't been to that antique show in quite a number of years. Well, partly because I think it was always held on a Saturday, so that idea I got screwed when we started our store. I'm not going to crimp that yet. Let's just make sure this goes into place. That one lined up pretty nice. So I'm going to put a little shellac on this guy. Just because we moved the tube, positioning of the tube in the. All right. I think those are aligned properly. Let's get this extra. All right, so those two we're going to put a little black on. We'll let them dry. Tomorrow we can assemble them. This one we can kind of do today. Should be okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put like maybe like an excessive amount of silicone in there because we want it to seal up. This seal is good and the sack is good, and we're going to seal the barrel. So if we can get enough silicone in there to make sure that that hole is good, then it very well might fill. Great PFM is very nice. How rare is this color? Apologies if this is covered earlier. You just got here. Um, well, let's put it this way. So, we had a problem with all three of these pens. The section didn't unscrew on any of these after a week and a half being soaked in naphtha, in heat. One of them succumbed to some distortion under heat. And then after soaking, finally did open up, but it's a lost cause at this point because it just slightly distorted. The cap will never fit on it properly. Um, uh, Thankfully, we were able to find a replacement nib unit, but it's rare enough, it's scarce enough that I'm not going to try again because finding replacements for for any more of these, gold or palladium doesn't matter, is just not going to happen. So hopefully my solution works. I mean, and I do admit that sometimes I take the side of caution rather than, I mean, I tried, a friend suggested to soak it in water and then pull it out, wipe it off, put it on the heat so that the heat can expand the water and maybe that will help open it up. This is a new old stock unit to replace this one that distorted, and this one won't open. Um, and it's, the other 9 PFMs we had, they did open. But you know what? You can find a black section if it doesn't open, right? And the plastic at the end here is really actually fairly thin. Um, you know, so yeah. So I mean, I had some of these they soaked for over a week. I put one in naphtha, and then take it out, heat it. Didn't work. Put it back in. Um, so you could probably come up with more sections if absolutely necessary, but it would be big. I mean, and yeah. I mean, I appreciate that, but I think, was that a flaw with the color? No, no. It's just the fact that it's such a hard color to find that I'm just not going to risk any more damage to any of these. And the new sections probably won't open either. Yeah, yeah. Um, because I mean, admittedly, my first motto and the first motto of pen repair is do no harm, right? So, um, and especially after you screw up one, uh, you get a little gun shy. But they're not as common as like a snorkel. I mean, if you got a snorkel and you melt the section, well, no big deal. You can, every other section fits. But my PFM part spin uh is one bag with two cracked black blind caps, um one on a PFM one in black, and I think a cracked gray blind cap. Yeah, I mean it's all cracked parts. I mean you just don't have, that's my entire parts selection for PFM. I guess I should look for a black PFM one blind cap, then I could probably restore that pen. How do the PFMs compare to snorkels in terms of longevity, easy to repair? They're about the same. I mean, it's the same concept, just in a little bigger format. Actually, um, this part that the sack attaches to is round. It's not faceted like the snorkels are, or the snorkels can be. And so really, if you get it right, it's a little bit easier to set up. But um, otherwise, it's a big snorkel. Is really all it is. It just has that really super pretty inlaid nib. You know. All right. So we'll try this one here. So my thinking is that I'm just going to put a gob of silicone in here, and I don't want it to get clogged up in here. But once this is through the point holder gasket, it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, it's only going to sit. Your point holder gasket's right about here. So if I put a bunch of silicone in this section here, it's going to shove it down. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know if it's going to work or not. It's probably going to shove it all the way down to the top of the base, which, and it's an absurd amount, but we'll get a little silicone there. Yeah, and this is when we started restoring this. This is where I started the Twitch videos on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, the first one will be July 28th. There was no July 29th. And then July 30th. So I've got those two videos up right now, which was a majority of the work, and then I'll get the rest up maybe tonight or tomorrow or something. All right, so we don't have it sealed up, but we're just gonna. Actually, I should do. Whoa! I think that worked. The point holder gasket could also be good enough that now this is a new old stock unit, so yeah. Fudge. Okay, so that works. Now I need to, but the tube is too long. Well, I don't know if that's what causes it to work. Let's just say that. Yeah, so I got about, you can see the gap there. Yeah, that was a real full fill. It's kind of a shame that this is not, this stinking thing is too long. But we're just gonna heat this up and maybe that'll, because it just won't go in. So we soften it up a little bit. It should just slide that right in. Let's try it again. All right, so that's good. Perfect. Well, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty perfect. You know what I never did is I never did. I'm actually going to wipe that off because I forgot to test how far this. I got the alignment right, but I didn't test if the length is right, which would be a disaster of a. Well, not a disaster. Just for fun. Let's see. I didn't put any extra silicone in that. Yeah, that fills. one's got a little bit of maybe a little bit of warpage. It's not too bad. Yeah, that's He might be a little bit warped. So that one would have been okay. Okay, we'll just dab on there. Looks pretty good from there, but these aren't always, you got to test them because you never know. Boy, this 5 is nice. Such a nice little detail of gold on there. It's two-tone cap. All right, so they all work without replacing that gasket. See it, Fuzzy. But I think I'm still going to put a little extra silicone in there just to, I didn't actually wind that back, did I? What's your take on the inlaid nibs separating from the section? I had one in an old Triumph Imperial and have been leery of buying another. The nibs separating. I've never actually had that happen. Yeah, so this is, look at this. It's just, while the measurement was right, it's still a smidge too long. You think you saw Richards? Is this some kind of bolt repair glue? Probably. I'm guessing it was a pilot custom stripe on side. It might have been this. Now it's not. It's not called this anymore. Captain Tolly's creeping crack cure. He doesn't call it. I don't think they call it creeping crack cure. You've seen or heard of 2 inlaid shaver nibs that separated from the section. It's not common. Yeah. And I actually have this written down here. This is for Namiki Sterling nibs. So the Sterling nibs are actually glued onto the section. So yes, I bought a 250 milliliter bottle of this for 1 pen. I've never used it since. Maybe that's what he was referring to. I don't know. Yeah, they do let go. I guess there's a tiny gap there, but I think it doesn't take much, right? Yeah, so I had a funny story. The same pen that I bought that glue for. Um, the nib was bent on a Sterling. and I got the nib off and proceeded to straighten it out when I realized it was too important of a pen, and I just decided, you know what, I'm not gonna, certain things I can fix and certain things I know I can't fix. Um, so I just sent it off to Linda Kennedy. Linda fixed it, sent it back. And then sent it back to me with a note that says, well, the nib's okay now, but there's a crack in the section. So um, it doesn't matter if the nib's good or not. So I ended up having to send it to Japan. And I specifically asked because it was an older Sterling that had the gold colored nib, not the rhodium plated version that they have now. And I asked them to keep the nib, and they swapped the nib onto a new section for me and sent it back. Perfect. And I think it was like a broad nib or stub. It was like some weird nib that you weren't going to find, and it was gold colored. Okay, so we're gonna we're gonna redo these. And actually, I'm just gonna put. And when you do that, when I do this, I hang on to the snorkel tube, so the action of pulling the section off doesn't accidentally pull the tube out, because then you just you made your problem worse. So we're gonna do this again. This way, when we go to put it back together, then we can still want to put a little extra silicone in it. We still can. Ooh, that beat it up nice. A little too much. All right. Well, that's the best news I've heard. Well, I don't know if it's the best. That's a pretty good news that those actually do fill um, without changing that gasket. That is fantastic. All right. Okay. Those are sitting. What do we got over here? Bunch of other crap that needs repair. Let's just for giggles. I've had this one Schaefer soaking for a week now, at least. I really would love to get this pen open. I think the big trick is going to be trying to find where I put the cap on this guy. It's on my desk somewhere. It almost looks like there's something has come out, but it's just so hard to tell. You can see I just popped a little something out, that white stuff. So what we might end up doing is if I can get that off, put it back in the water. That's a pretty big chunk of something there. Maybe that'll allow more water to get in that section. We're getting something today. I think something is enough water has kind of made its way in where it's softened at least some of this adhesive, whatever it is, and has caused it to kind of leach out. But I think we're going to put it back in the water for a little while. And we'll see. I can see through it now. I mean, there's a couple of pieces there that came out. That I don't think that were there before. So we're going to leave it in the water for, I mean, that's a, as far as I'm concerned, that's a small bit of progress. All right. Let's take a look at our Estabrook matrix here. See if we have any. If we had any transitional J's, that would be all right, huh? Looks like we're a little shy on blue and copper. Ooh. There's two. So we only had one there, and then this one is an LJ. That's pretty sweet. We don't really have very many blue LJs. Suppose I should update this with what is the lifespan of a rubber ink sac? Well, you know, I used to say there, you know, I'd restore a pen for somebody, say, well, it's good for another 50 years, but I don't. They don't make the sacks aren't made the same way they used to be. So you know, when you come across an Estabrook with an original Estabrook Mark sack and they're still pliable and they're 80 years old, we're not going to see that kind of lifespan. I think if you get 10 years, 20 years out of it, and then it fails, if it's not too hard to fix, then I think if you get 10 years out of it, I think you're probably doing all right. You've had them crumble when you had any personal, yeah. If they're I usually don't trust much like these. If you told me you replaced the sack 10 years ago, I'm going to replace it. But if you have personally had a pen resacked and it's been 10 years and you notice it's not quite filling like it used to, I would consider that. I mean, is it acceptable? Probably not, but that's the age we live in now. All right, so we looked at the dollar pens. We didn't really have much to fill in those spots except for the ones that are over there. Copper J's, we only had 2. Well, that's just not right. It's going to be an all copper. Five. And my highly scientific method here. All right, copper's the color of the day. Just use some tape and we'll mark these. Of course, those numbers are skewed because um, I've already sold some. Big sticker on that one. That's a terrible nib on that one. That was not much better. Oh, you know, that's an SJ probably. Yeah, that's an SJ. Nice nib on that transitional. A lot of ink on that one. Oh my goodness. So much for that clean water I just put in there. Oh, it's a 2968. There's like oils or something on my thing here. It's not, the pen's not writing. All right. Try not to turn the heat gun on because it's starting to get toasty in here, and it's a lovely like 72 degrees outside today. That's fun. No, it's 72. The heat gun is in addition to the lights in here, it heats up the room. And this room is ridiculously hot because I'm sandwiched in between two other units. And even if I open the window, there's no airflow because there's an overhang above me, and then there are trees in front of me, front of the unit, and no air actually comes in here. So tonight, I very probably, even at 60 some degrees, 68, 69 degrees tonight, I'll probably have to have the air conditioning on because it's going to be 77 degrees in here. It's just going to be. There's just no way to get the heat out because there's no windows on the north or south sides of my unit. It's a cool 87 there. That actually is a little bit cooler, isn't it? Yeah. In fact, when I'm done opening these things up, I am going to turn this. I usually turn the air on right after I'm done, so it cools the room off for later. I mean, it's a good thing in the winter. Fan, yeah. I mean, I've got a fan on, but it's not doing much. It's just blowing the hot air around. Is what it's doing. I mean, it's so hot in here in the winter. Before we had the air conditioning unit in the window, it could be 10 degrees outside. We literally have the window open at night because it's just. And of course, all these require heat, right? It's coming. Wow. No wonder it's a pain in the butt. It's got an early section on it. The barrel looked like. Oh, it's a 48 barrel. That was finally nice this morning. You could have both of my doors downstairs were open, the screen's down. Lisa and I went for our walk last night, and it was finally cool enough. I mean, we went for a walk. We go for about four or five nights a week. We go for a 2 mile walk. And a couple of times last week, I mean, at 8 o'clock, it was 80 some degrees. And Lisa's like, yeah, we've got a couple of like little loops in there, and like, yeah, we're just going straight home. To hell with this. Well, this one too. Well, that's interesting. It's got an early section on it. Give me just a minute. I got to turn this air on. All right. Okay. We got a couple of twisties in here. I don't have much time left. I got about 15 minutes or so. Well, at least they all came out. Um, didn't get stuck. You think it's great? I restore these and put them back in circulation. Yeah, I mean they're very durable pens. They're typically not difficult to repair. You know, and if you want something fun to collect, that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. You know, you don't want to do it in completist fashion. You can get 6 colors, and you get a dollar pen, maybe a transitional with a flat barrel end, and double jewel in 3 different sizes, and you know you got a good representative selection of Esterbooks. If you can do the repairs yourself and you find them in the wild, you can do it for wild. You can do it for a very reasonable amount of money. Yeah, they write well too. Yeah, collect some great nibs. They're even more fun. You know, for some people, they just buy one or two Esterbrook's and then they buy like 10 different nibs. You know, and then you find out you can put Osmoroid nibs in it, and then, you know, even more interesting. This has got a little rust on it. Purpose rust though. Probably had a sack break on it at some point. All right. Can you show us what you're doing with the sound effect of Dan? Oh, I'm sorry. So this is just a Dremel, and then I have a wire wheel brush on there. And what I'm doing is I'm just always wear your glasses. I'm just going over the J bar to remove any. And this one is suspect because of the way you see that sharp little bend here. We'll have to stress this because this is probably going to break, but it might not. But then if you're going to do this side, I always do it from underneath, come across the top. Because if you do it this way, it kind of buzzes. You got to do it upside down. Get inside here. If you see any kind of corrosion or whatever, and sometimes if you get something that's really pretty rusty, sometimes you can clean it off and it works okay. Other times, you know, if it might be a lost cause and you might end up taking all the rust off and the rust is the only thing that's holding it together. But I usually like to try if I can save the original, because on Esterbrook you have, if you don't know, you've got this little notch here. Okay, you see that right in the middle? And then that's what, if this is the lever up here, the lever pivots and stops. It catches that notch. And so that's where the lever goes perpendicular to the barrel, and that's the maximum compression point. Actually, it's like this. Maximum compression point of the bar. Because otherwise it would just continue to, it would go and it would flip over. But, so I like to save these whenever possible. because modern bars don't have that. And so I can flatten out that sharp bend. I think this one will be okay. I still have to bend it back. Oh, we'll try that. We're about 5 to 5 here, so I think I'm gonna wrap this up only because I know Lisa's gonna call me in about 5 minutes. She's getting off work, and then she's gonna go stop at our warehouse and pick up some stuff to fulfill some orders, and so she's gonna need to know what to fulfill, and so I gotta look at some orders and things. So, all right. Dinner plans? Yeah, I don't know what today's dinner plans are. We got leftovers in the fridge. Maybe that's it, right? I don't know. Thank you for a wonderful stream. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for, thanks for the questions. It's always fun to talk about S-Work stuff for sure. Anything else, of course. But tomorrow I will try. I will try again to multi-stream into YouTube. We'll see. My daughter Lindsay's coming over, so to do some photography. So we'll try to get that that ironed out tomorrow. So hopefully you won't have this Brian's on, Brian's off, Brian's on, Brian's off, Brian's on thing going on. But I think we got an idea how to make this work. So thank you so much. Yeah, thanks to you, Lee. Hans, have a great night. The rest of you, have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, Glenn. Have a good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Be kind, be well, and we'll catch you tomorrow. All right, take care.